This is Critical Commentary with Maurice Williams. Today we're going to cover the Israel-Iran war, discuss the new rumor with Erika Kirk, and respond to some Nick Fuentes clips. Blacks, Hispanics, and whites can't read. Why you think I started a podcast? It's a fucking racist thing with you niggas, and that's why I'm coming at you niggas next. They love to talk about black violence. Have you heard of white violence? White people commit violent crime at 3 times the rate of Asians. When is Nick Fuentes going to talk about white violence? Everybody's arguing about their 2 genders. I sat next to her hermaphrodite in math class. Am I allowed to talk about the Jews? If she wanted, we could do it in the morning. Yawning, letting my eyes stretch, baby, I ain't a novice. I've been a dog, she FaceTime, but I never call. So in terms of the war, it's still raging on into its 3rd week. Israel has now said that they've killed the Iran security defense chief. And also Iran has said that they've killed a few of the leaders on the Israel military side. And Trump is still saying that the war is going to end soon, but based upon Israel going into Lebanon and continuing to strike southern Lebanon specifically, there are about 1 million, at least hundreds of thousands of people, maybe up to 1 million people who are refugees again. So this is similar to the Israel-Hamas war in that the Israel-Hamas war displaced Gazans. So now the Israel-Iran war is displacing people in Lebanon. And yes, we're talking about the Israel-Iran war. And yes, it's displacing people in Lebanon, which is not even near Iran. So Iran is off to the east of Israel and Lebanon is right up to the north. But what Israel is saying is that they're basically fighting Iran and all its proxies. So they're saying not only are they fighting the larger regime in Iran with the new Ayatollah, but they're saying like Hezbollah and various other, you call them insurgencies, different groups who are like basically funded by Iran. Iran maybe had something to do with their training. They're not necessarily working as close with Russia and China. So these organizations don't have, I shouldn't say they don't, but they don't have as much contact with Russia. So they're not as high tech with their drones and their missiles and equipment. But nonetheless, Israel is saying that they still find them as a threat because they're their actual neighbors. So Lebanon is right to the north of Israel, just as right next to Israel is Egypt and also Gaza, the Palestinians. So America and Israel are they're not at odds, but on the home front, Trump has been saying that the war should be ending soon, and he's been having these large press conferences. Him and Pete Hegseth as well, the Secretary of the Department of War or Department of Defense. He's saying that we are doing a good job. Both of them are saying that we're hitting tons of targets, which we are, but they're kind of downplaying some of the problems. So what's changed since yesterday is the European unions have actually officially responded to Trump, and they're basically giving him the middle finger. So Germany says they're definitely not sending anybody. And the actual quote was from one of the leaders of the European Union as a whole. So the European Union is basically the various smaller European countries got together and created a union so that they could, well, part of it's for commerce, so that they could trade the trains, the business, etc. You can move around the nations pretty easily. But then also, since they were so small, smaller than America, smaller than Russia, they put their militaries together, and that's also how America got involved with NATO. So basically, one of the spokespeople who is in charge of the group, not any specific country, he said that nobody's interested in putting their people in harm's way, which again, it makes sense to me. Trump, a few days ago, was asking that these NATO allies, who ironically he's always talking about, we don't need them, they don't put up money, we're the ones who put up not just most of the money, but most of the armed forces, which I'll get into that in a second. That's a lie. But basically, he says that America is the big, strong power and Europe does nothing. Well, the first time we've got into somewhat of a war, because the Iran situation is not even a big war yet, we've gotten into somewhat of a war. We're having some trouble because we can't control the Strait of Hormuz with the gas, well, with the oil, since we're not able to maneuver our commercial ships. Trump is asking that the Europeans help, and they're saying, well, they're not saying this, but many are speculating that because our diplomacy with them is not as strong, they're hesitant to have their Navy come up because they may lose personnel. Why would they lose their personnel when the Iran leader, one of the Iran leaders said yesterday that the Strait was only closed to their enemies. So the Europeans are basically saying, as long as we don't get involved in this war, we're not one of the enemies, and we don't want our gas prices to go up. So they're playing it smart, in my opinion, and saying staying hands off and letting this be a America-Israel fight against Iran and not all of the NATO forces. Except for Ukraine, we're helping Ukraine with Russia. So obviously Ukraine is going to help us in return. And because two reasons why Ukraine is actually a big help in this war is Russia helped Iran with a lot of their drone technologies. So a lot of the things that Iran is doing that is working against Israel, going like defeating their Iron Dome and hitting civilians and breaking into Tel Aviv. We've actually never seen so many bombs land in Israel. Some of that capability is from the Russians. So Ukraine has been fighting Russia for almost, it's at least been 2 years now. They have a lot of knowledge about those drones and a lot of the tactics that the Iranians are using based upon a lot of the training that they got from Russia. So actually, Ukraine is going to be helping us significantly. So that's also ironic because Trump also used to talk about the Zelensky, the leader of Ukraine. So I'm an American. I hope that America does win the war. But as a person looking objectively, I can see a bunch of problems on the American side. Just in general, Trump seems to be getting older. I'm sure they briefed him on everything that could happen, but based upon what I'm seeing, it doesn't seem like America was ready for the worst case scenario. So a lot of there's small wins. A lot of the small wins for Iran are not something that America saw coming, and we don't seem to be prepared to defend it ourselves. That's why we're looking outside to other nations for help. And in general, this war, I will close talking about the war saying this, because I'm not a fan of the war. I don't want it to drag on. I'm not a fan of what Israel is trying to do. And actually on the next story, we'll cover Israel some more. It's a sad situation that so far, it's not as bad as I'm not gonna say not as bad. Haven't had as many casualties yet as they had in Gaza. They had hundreds of people dying and millions of refugees. But already Iran is reporting that they've had at least 1,300 Iranians killed, probably more. On the American side, obviously, since the war is not over here, we've lost 13 soldiers. That's horrible. But then 200 have been, we lost 13, 7 in war, and then 6 from a plane crash. Wasn't tied to Iran hitting them, but it was just some kind of a malfunction or something, some kind of accident. And then 200 soldiers have been injured, at least so far. So what you may notice if you've been following at least the politicians on both sides, their constituents are like concerned, not necessarily just about a draft, but many of us have loved ones who are in the military who either previously served or are currently serving. If not the military, the National Guard or the Marines or something involved in armed services. So the constituents are concerned that people are dying now, that their loved ones may end up having to serve. I actually was talking to somebody recently who had somebody stationed somewhere in the Navy, and they're kind of, I think they're in Japan, and they're a little concerned that since the Europeans don't want to send ships, they're gonna call the person they know from Japan and bring them over to the Strait of Hormuz in the Middle East. So it's one of those situations where, to one extent, we all feel like, not all, but many of us may say, well, we're not connected, but then the world is small. Even if you're not directly connected, and if you don't care about the gas prices, which many Americans do, it still can affect you because it's a small world, and we end up knowing people. If we don't know them directly, our neighbors know them, or our relatives know them. So it's just something that we'll continue to monitor. I do think that Trump does understand that America doesn't want it. So he's going to try to end it. It's just going to come down to, what is Israel going to do? As of now, we follow them in every situation. So if they continue to bomb, either we're going to send boots on the ground, and I shouldn't ramble about this topic, but actually, since I'm talking about boots on the ground, that America is now sending some Navy ships with a small amount of troops. And again, they're sending these people to the Strait of Hormuz. So not so much to invade Iran or to change the regime, but money and oil is important. So if they're going to have bombs over there and the oil prices are going to go up, America does want to secure that port, secure that island. I can't remember the island offhand, but we do want to have control of that area. But we'll continue to cover this over the next few days. As far as I'm concerned, what I think right now, not concerned, but my thoughts on this right now is it's probably going to last longer than 3 weeks. And again, that's just purely because I don't think Trump has the gall or the balls to tell Netanyahu no. Like other people have told him no, but right now it just looks like we've always been allies with Israel, but we really look lockstep in unison with them this time since we actually preemptively bombed somebody for them, basically. So in my opinion, Trump is going to continue to talk tough, say we're winning, and he's going to continue to say it's almost over. But most likely Congress is going to have no choice but to step in terms of voting on funding and voting on whether this is a war. So hopefully Congress, since Trump is pretty much a lame duck now, hopefully Congress is willing to stand up against him and not even filibuster, but just vote at least 60-40 saying we won't fund the war. We won't pass a resolution saying that the troops are allowed to be a part of a war. And maybe that stops this because Netanyahu, at the very least, if America is not going to be involved long term, he will pull back because he'll have no choice because Israel by itself, though intelligent, they don't have the capabilities to fight the whole Middle East. They're literally, it seems like they're fighting like 8 countries. Maybe next time I'll come in and actually cover each territory that they're currently bombing and having a problem with. But on this topic, but not exactly tied to it, the director of the National Security Counter-Terrorism resigned. So his actual statement, he resigned today. So this is breaking news. He resigned today saying that in a written statement, I say that, let me pull it up on X for you guys so you can see it for yourself. Here's the statement. In the statement, he actually says that he's resigning because there was no imminent threat, which pretty much most people figured that. They had already 6 months ago annihilated most of the nuclear capabilities, and Iran was never technologically advanced enough to even shoot missiles over onto this hemisphere. So there was not, no one even thought that was a real threat. So he says that, and the part that may catch some eyeballs, but not people who have been following the Candace Owens, not people who have been following the conspiracy theorists, etc., people on the far left and far right, they won't be shocked to hear that he said he resigned because was no imminent threat, and because he feels this is the former director of national intelligence. I mean, he worked in the National Intelligence Department, but he's the director of National Counter-Terrorism. He said that besides there not being an imminent threat, he said that Israel manufactured the war and the Israeli lobby in America is the one who pushed it. So that's basically AIPAC. So to me, this is it's not shocking, but it's big news to have someone who is a high-ranking person in the U.S. government and the military forces flat out saying and resigning because he's saying that this war should not have happened and it was manufactured by Israel, literally stating that they caused it, they created it, there was no problem. I'm going to just drop Netanyahu's name. He just started a war for no reason, and that's why, again, I'm starting to believe, which we covered before, maybe the greater Israel plan Israel. Maybe they are trying to expand. Maybe they are trying to take land because even during times where there is no war, there is no threat, they still find a reason to bomb. And not only did they bomb Iran, again, he starts talking about other people who are nowhere near them. And he's saying, well, we got to kill them too. We got to kill Lebanon. Then 20 years ago, he said, well, no, we got to kill Saddam Hussein in Iraq. And no, we got to get Libya. At some point, people got to realize you can't kill the whole Middle East because you don't like them, you don't like their religion, or you don't like their power, or you don't like how they're running their countries. Those people aren't allowed to say we want to kill Israel or get rid of Israel because we don't like them. So there has to be some kind of truce. I will continue to follow more closely now that somebody in the government that spoke up about AIPAC. Some politicians have people like Marjorie Taylor Greene. It's also ironic now that I'm thinking about this. Marjorie Taylor Greene, this guy, and other people who speak about Israel, they often end up leaving government. So that's another thing maybe I need to pay attention to. While the politicians are being funded, their campaigns are being funded, and they're running for re-elections, you hardly hear anybody speak out against Israel except maybe Thomas Massey. I have to check his record. But most of the other people don't tend to speak out against Israel or AIPAC until they're no longer in government. So that's just something that I'm personally going to start paying more attention to. Now, as this show has gone from the actual war to me kind of saying my opinion and talking about speculation and what people speculate, We're going to cover Erika Kirk a little bit. So there's a few things going on with her right now. Now, this is from somebody on X, and most of the conspiracies are coming from places like X or not YouTube, but there's another platform. Basically, there are certain platforms that have less censorship. So those places are where you find a lot of these conspiracy theories, and this one is from somebody named A-Tunes. If you want to find them, they cover a lot of stuff with like Israel, Judaism, etc. Also conservative stuff, so family and things of that nature. It says that there's a snapshot of Charlie Kirk and then Erika Kirk, and they're saying that Erika removed the wedding portrait from the bookshelf. Now, I don't know if this is true. Yesterday, I covered something that people were saying about Netanyahu that I debunked myself and proved that wasn't true. And also previously, we covered some stuff with Erika where she's now the head of training the cadets with the Air Force, and many people were saying that is because of her Israeli ties. But then I also brought up that she has that her husband had the position, so it could potentially just be like a posthumous thing that the president was doing as a nice gesture, but then also because her family had history in that, and she actually, even though they're calling her a trad wife, she has a few degrees, she doesn't know nothing about the military. But I was just pointing out last time that there could be multiple reasons why she had the position. So same thing with this. I'm not sure if she actually took the portrait down, but that's what people are saying. And they are also saying this is from a different account, and but the volume's already turned up. Nope, it's turned up on the laptop, but I'll turn it up on X. I don't know who Parody Jeff is, and Parody kind of makes me think already maybe I shouldn't have played it. But anyway, this is supposedly leaked audio footage of Erika arranging girls for Epstein. So again, he's Jewish. She has Jewish ties, and then he was donating money to her school. And if they know one another, it's supposed to not be a surprise because he was funding her, and him and her were working together along with other people connected to Israel to do things for Israel's benefit at the to the detriment of America. But I'll play the clip, and you guys can let me, or not. Yeah, you guys can let me know what you believe, but I'll also let you guys know what I think.
She knows that your mom really takes your cell phone.
Second phone call attempt at 4:26 p.m.
I won't have the cell phone after 4.
Hello? Hey, what's up? I talked to Jeffrey, and I'm going to his house tomorrow morning, and I'm taking my son. He's gonna set something up for you.
Well, like, what do you think?
I don't know. I'm gonna talk to him tomorrow morning when I go to his house about it.
How much? Like, would I get paid? Last time.
Talk to him. I'll talk to him tomorrow, and then I'll bring you in the next day and talk to him about it.
How much do you think? I don't know what I want to do. I just want to get some ideas.
I don't know. You're going to have to talk to him about it. I mean, I don't really work for him like that. I just bring girls to him, and they work for him. So you're going to have to talk to him about it. That's what I'm saying. When you work for him, I'll bring you in, and you can ask him before you work. So, like, what can I do to make more money?
Yeah, well, like, if I don't understand what you get paid more money, how much?
The more you do, the more you get paid. Okay, so, I mean, I don't know. Talk to him about it.
Want me to bring my sister for you so, like, you could get paid more or something? Or how much a girl?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. I'm working tomorrow, and me and him are going to put a schedule together for you and your sister. So I'll call you tomorrow when I leave Jeffrey with the schedule.
So this is actually, I looked into it, and I'm not an expert, but I was like, who's talking? Why do people think this is Erika Kirk? Who was the other lady, et cetera, et cetera. So I looked into it a little bit, and I can look into it even more if you guys disagree. But it seems as though none of the people talking are Erika Kirk. But it seems as though people heard a female voice. No one knew who these people are, and the conspiracy just grew into it being Erika Kirk and saying that she was talking to, that's not Maxwell, but talking to some other lady who was working with Epstein, and she was trying to get girls to get money, etc. etc. And I'm again bringing this out because as we cover these conspiracy theories, on the one end, the photo today, I'm not sure what that's about. Definitely don't think this is Erika Kirk. Definitely don't think that talking. Definitely don't think that the coffee that Netanyahu spilled, didn't spill, should have spilled, right? I think he's alive. I think Erika Kirk I don't even know if she had anything to do with Jeffrey Epstein. She might have, but I definitely don't think she was trafficking girls for him. But maybe I'm wrong. A lot of people worked with him. I'm trying to cover both sides of the conspiracy. So sometimes I think it's off, but then again, with the national security, the got his position, but the guy who worked in the National Intelligence Department, the head of the director of counterintelligence, Joe Ken is his name. He's saying that, the Israel lobby is strong. I'm resigning because of Israel's influence. So that's why I said yesterday, it's hard, not hard, but it's tricky when you're covering this because it's like there's a lot of truth in what people say, but a lot of times people are taking it too far. So it's like clearly if the guy I'm saying the director is one of the top people, I think he's the top person in that department, in the intelligence department, or one of the top people. If he's telling you that Israel lobby is strong, if he's telling you that it's manufactured, I was speculating that Israel was behind the war and saying that they wanted to grow the Greater Israel Project. If he works in the government, he's the top person, and he had a job and he said, no, I can't in good conscience keep doing this. It's wrong. It's like validating what I thought. So I'm basically just saying that as a person on the outside, we can only look into these things and try to find out the truth. And sometimes when people speak up, whether you want to call them whistleblowers, etc., we can find out what's actually going on. But in terms of the conspiracies, how I feel now, I'm not comfortable speculating on every individual topic. But again, we'll continue to cover the war, which I hope ends soon. We'll continue covering the people in the Justice Department and the military themselves, whether or not Congress funds the war, if other people step down. We'll continue to critique the job Trump is doing. Again, I don't think he's doing a good job. He doesn't seem like he was well prepared. And then we'll also cover a lot of this stuff. If you guys even have things you want us to cover, you can leave it in the comments, because we'll continue to cover the stuff with Erika Kirk and the stuff with Nick, who I'm about to do some clips from him. I don't mind covering these people. I think that there's validity into what's going on with Erika. They even call her a trad wife, and it's like I didn't know enough about Charlie to know about that. I found out about her after he died. And at first I just knew Charlie and that was his wife. Then later on I found out where she went to school, found out she had those degrees, found out one of her parents was Israeli, found out that both of them worked in the military. It's just found out about her traveling to Colorado. Like I'm learning about all of this, and it's a lot for me to take in. So I don't necessarily have a strong opinion on it yet, but I'll continue to follow it. 3 Nick clips for you guys before we go to comments. Follow Fuentes updates. That's one of the people I tend to find some good clips from Nick from. There's some other people, but Fuentes updates definitely has helped this show with the clips he's made. This is okay. It's on the line of talking about the war. Nick reacts to Trump's attempt to enlist U.S. allies in the war against Iran.
So Trump's new big plan is to enlist the help of other countries. Trump says that if the closure of the Strait is affecting every country, and every country is hurt by this, well, then every country should try to open up the Strait of Hormuz. So Trump is now demanding that allied nations in Europe and the Pacific should join the United States in the war, and there should be some grand coalition. All these countries' navies will come together and they will sail through the Strait all at once or something. And there will be a joint war. It will grow from a U.S.-Israel war on Iran to a U.S.-Israel, NATO, Quad war. It's going to be Australia, Japan, South Korea, France, the UK, Italy, Poland. In his mind, all the countries are now going to assemble and get Trump out of the jam. And so he said this weekend that we're not going to do all the fighting alone. We're not the only ones getting hurt by this. We expect every country that's affected to join our Navy and participate in a grand operation to force the Strait open. The problem is no country is going to do that. And they've already said so. The same day that Trump announced his coalition, Japan said they're not going to join. Australia said they're not going to join. France confirmed to the media they're not going to join. Italy, Poland, Germany, the EU, the UK, all of them have all said The only one that is even close to a yes is the United Kingdom. They're non-committal. Every other country has said absolutely not. Italy said we have no plans. Germany says it's not our war. Poland said we've ruled it out. France says we're defensive only. Every one of these countries. And now, why do you think that is? Well, in the first place, Trump has been browbeating all these countries for the past 15 months. So we're not really off to a great start there. Tariffs on all these countries, humiliating their leaders, publicly attacking them. Now he's begging them to fight our war. So already there's not a ton of interest. Secondly, this is our war. We went into this, Trump and Israel, Netanyahu and Trump, who have no allies in the world. Everybody hates them. Trump and Netanyahu made the decision, really more of a Netanyahu decision, though, to go into Iran, this war that everybody knew would be a catastrophe. They did it unilaterally, not through the Security Council, not through any proper channel. They went in confidently, as the United States did in Venezuela, and they got themselves into this mess. And now that it's not going their way, now that the mighty United States and the glorious Israel, now that they are caught and stuck in this attritional war that's blowing up the global economy, now they're begging everybody that they've been browbeating for the past year and a half to come and bail them out.
Okay, so if you didn't watch episode 36 of Critical Commentary, you could just look at this clip and he basically summarized what I just said previously. But yeah, I agree with that. That's what happened. America and Israel started a war. Nobody likes us. Then the people who used to like us, Trump was making fun of them, didn't want their help. And when he was saying this, I thought about something I forgot to mention during the actual episode. Well, during the other part of the episode before the reactions. In war, since NATO has started, specifically like the Iraq war, 1/3 of the people who died were NATO soldiers. So of course it's a big insult to tell those people, as Trump has done many times and said, you've never fought with us, when though they didn't lose as many people as we lost, the Iraq war wasn't their war. So I've actually even heard, and I believe this is true, the one time that they NATO invoked the Article 5, where all of the nations have, all of the people involved have to bring troops to support whatever allies been attacked or fighting. The only time they ever did it was for America. I don't know which war it was, but the only time that they invoked that was in America's defense. So just historically, America has lost more people, put up more money. They've had better technology because we're the big dog. We're the number one power, the strongest force in the world. The other people put up what they financially, they didn't put up what they could, but in terms of military personnel, they put up the resources they had, the technology they had, and they put up their people to fight wars on our defense. So even before this war started, I thought that it was rude of Trump and ignorant of him to be talking so negatively about all of these powers, these European powers. And at that time, when I didn't have the show, but when I would talk to people in private, you know, I'm a conservative in terms of my policies, but I have voted Democratic more often than Republican. I would tell people, well, one of the reasons is you look at foreign policy and you looked at how Obama and Joe Biden were handling things from the diplomatic perspective. They valued our partners, right? They valued their opinions. They valued their income. They valued what they brought to the table as far as intelligence. So even at times when Obama and Biden could have done things, even if it wasn't brute force, sometimes it's just certain technologies that you have or don't have, they would give to the other nations, whereas Trump has been more likely to hold the intelligence we have, not share it with others, the technology, not share it with others, because we're trying to be the mighty force. They said that Obama was weak. They said that Joe Biden was weak. They said that people were taking advantage of us. They said that people were laughing at us. But from their perspective, they were doing those things because, let's say Obama was in office or Biden. Obviously, most likely we might have not even started this war, but let's say a war had happened. We might get a little bit more support if in other areas we had been helping Europe, which are now kind of like the middle powers. You wouldn't call Europe a superpower. Same thing with, we're not going to say China, but at least Japan, some of the places in South Korea, etc. Some of they're not necessarily direct allies, but they're not enemies. Some of these people who are completely cold to Trump and turned off, Obama and Biden had a little bit more friendly relationship. I think Merkel was one of the prime minister for Germany at a point, and then Trump was calling her ugly. these things may seem funny, and at the time, a lot of MAGA people at the time were saying, well, he's strong, he's powerful, nobody can stop him, nobody can stop us. Yeah, nobody can stop us, but when we need help, then what do we do? You see what I'm saying? It's more to being a leader than just being powerful. It's also knowing how to pick others up. It's also knowing how to you're not bullshitting other people when you compliment them, but it's letting them know that you see their value and that you know their worth. That way, when something comes up and you do need them, they're like, oh yeah, that's my guy. We can work together on economic policies and sanctions against Russia. We can work together on getting these naval ships. They might even this is not going to happen, but had we had a stronger relationship with our allies, we could have had them shipping stuff for us. If Iran saying American ships can't go through, but European ships can go through, the European powers, if we had a stronger relationship, could say, look, we'll just move you guys things through our ships, right? It's a lot of things, behind the tables and behind the scenes that you can do while Iran is trying to say they're tough and while America's trying to say they're tough. Things could be happening that the people don't know about behind the scenes where, yeah, we're still fighting the war, but we're making sure the citizens are taken care of because all of those avenues behind the scenes are still open and we can still get day-to-day business done. I feel like that's just one of the problems right now with Trump and Israel and in this reaction on that is saying, well, most of the people in the Middle East and across the world probably don't think America is acting on its own benefit. So even if Trump says this or says that, logical people like myself are going to think, should we really be talking to Netanyahu, who's actually calling the shots? I mean, can we take America serious if Trump says something and he doesn't want to do it, but then Israel does it, and then because of our alliance with Israel, we defend them in some way, even if we don't send troops? What if we send technology? What if we send money? I mean, at the end of the day, we're always backing Israel, and it looks bad. At least to me, it looks bad on America. But I'll go into the next couple clips for you guys. This is another Fuentes clip discussing MAGA, Make America Great Again. See what he said about them. I still think that. So, I'll let it play. Then I'll.
And this is now what MAGA is. Now the cycle is complete. It's Animal Farm. You take a look around the room and you can't tell the pigs apart from the people anymore. You can't tell apart the remnant of the old regime. Condoleezza Rice is at the White House. George W. Bush might be calling up Trump and saying, I wish I bombed Iran. Mike Waltz is at the UN. Mark Rubio's the Secretary of State. You look around the room and you can't tell apart the human beings from the animals. You can't tell them apart anymore. They have become the same and the cycle is complete. And now Trump is the ultimate gatekeeper. Trump says, now that I have weighed in on this, now I'm going to convince people to stop following Tucker. That's what he said. He said, there's a lot of people attacking Mark Levin, and they're stupid and irrelevant and bad. Mark Levin is a genius and the chosen one and good, and I endorse him fully. And he goes further. He says, once I say this, people will understand that Tucker and Megyn Kelly and Piers Morgan and all of them have less influence than they really have. He's telling you, he's saying out loud, I am retarding the movement. I am stopping it. I am arresting it. I am slowing it down. He is telling it to your face. I told you, this is the problem. Trump is no longer radicalizing anybody. He's not a radical. He's not dynamic. He is not delivering anything. As a matter of fact, he's doing the opposite. He's de-radicalizing everybody. All the independents, the Hispanics, anybody that supported Trump in 24 because they were sick of Biden, they're now turned off. If Trump put together this coalition against Biden and Kamala and people reluctantly joined on to a very right-wing campaign, even if they were more in the middle, they have been turned off. And many of the right-wing people that are loyal to Trump, they're being led astray. They're being brainwashed because of their allegiance to Trump. It's a Pied Piper effect into thinking that war with Iran is good. Mark Levin is good. So Trump is alienating and turning off, let's say 60% of the country that is not Republican or conservative. And the 30 to 40% that are Republican or conservative, he is dividing them. It's a Pied Piper effect, leading half of them in one direction and maybe half of the other into despondency. And I told you that would be the greatest sin of Trumpism. That would be the greatest liability in 2024. I said this. I said Trump is not offering anything new. He's not dynamic. He's not progressive. He's not even that right wing. And once he gets elected, you're going to get complacency. He's going to bring us to war with Iran, and people will support it because it's him. And all you're going to do is catalyze a knock-on effect, which is that it will grow the left, actually.
Okay, so I think what he said is accurate, but I considered him an alt-right. I considered him a conservative, at least on the conservative side, even though he seems to just be conservative about certain things, not everything. He's conservative about race, it seems, and stuff with Jews and blacks, but then he's willing to give welfare and things to white people because he's willing to do things to promote the benefit of whites. I will say that the rift he's talking about between MAGA and America First, I think is still there. I think that MAGA is bigger than some people think, but I think it's smaller than it used to be. I think that there's just a rift happening and people are kind of having to choose sides. It's at least two factions, but I see three kind of different groups. I mean, you got people, the Trump people who are MAGA, who are like, maybe you call them rhinos, not even. It's like the old guard of Republicans, or people who are not as extreme. But then also, I still think Tucker is conservative, and I think Nick is conservative, and I don't think Nick and Tucker are exactly the same. So I think they have a few factions on the Republican side or on the side of the right, and I'm not sure how many factions you could break it up into, if you want to break it up into 2, 3, or more. But I do see what he's saying. MAGA is not as strong. The coalition that Trump built within the Republicans and with the conservatives, that's not as strong because he's turning off the ones on the alt-right and the far-right for one reason, but he's turning off some of the ones who are kind of, if I were on their side, the ones moderate, he's turning them off. So he's only kind of got like a third of who he used to have. And then Nick being an alt-right person, I can see him trying to galvanize and energize his people and say, well, look, he's not the guy we thought he was, so that's why you don't like him. I don't know if he's going to get in politics or if there's certain people he wants to back, but he's definitely telling his faction, his wing, we don't support this guy. This guy is damn near a liberal himself, or damn near a moderate, not really a conservative. So I agree with Nick there. I just think that the way he talks about MAGA and the Republicans, I'm not sure if he understands the size of MAGA. When they do polls with CNN or Fox, maybe sometimes those aren't as accurate because the youth is more online, social media, where Nick is, the energy. I see a lot of people there, but older people still vote. Older people are still part of society. They take the polls, whether it's CNN, Fox, ABC, etc. They'll say 85% of the people support the Iran war on the Republican side. 85 to 80% of the people support Trump's economic policies, or they'll say that though the policies are hurting them right now, they want to give Trump some time. So Trump hasn't lost MAGA. MAGA is just losing some supporters, if that makes sense to you guys. So again, we'll continue to, there's actually one more Nick clip, but we'll continue to cover these Nick clips. For one, because you guys like it and I want to provide content that you guys like and enjoy. But then also, he has good, shouldn't say he has good opinions, because some of the shit this nigga says is crazy. He's an intelligent person and he offers a perspective that I value. That is the way I'll talk about this asshole. This intelligent asshole, I guess you could say. There's one more Nick clip. This one's about Mike Kornovich, Jake, how to pronounce his name, and Tucker Carlson. Somebody in the, I had to look it up myself. I was about to ask somebody in the comments, we're not live now though, to tell me how to pronounce his name. Discharged him for campaigning Trump in 2024 while calling Nick a Democrat. Okay, see what Nick had to say about those three.
You stupid assholes like Mike Cernovich and Jack Posobiec and Tucker Carlson, when you all campaigned for Trump and called me a Democrat, and you all told people to vote for this garbage, knowing full well what was going on, I'm sure you all thought that you were going to lobby the president. You were going to pressure him on Twitter. You deal with these problems later. You thought you were in the bargaining stage of grief. You thought you were in control. You thought you had power there. And you really thought, well, I guess I'll come down from my seat and I will lend my support as long as I get what I want. And I don't like Mark Levin and I don't like Loomer, but I guess I will stand shoulder to shoulder to fight the left. To fight the left. and we'll all stand behind Trump. And you thought that you had any leverage in that situation. You thought, and you had maybe more than you did, a little bit more influence in that conversation, but you don't. You have nothing. Trump is on Air Force One with Lindsey Graham. Laura Loomer is making the personnel decisions and the criminal referrals. Mark Levin ate lunch with Trump and Ike Perlmutter in June of 2025, a week before Israel went to war. He's running our foreign policy, not Tucker Carlson, not Dan Caldwell, not Kurt Mills. It's the Jews. And you don't even get the privilege of not liking it. You don't even get to not like it. You don't even have the privilege of reluctantly going along with it. You better shut the fuck up, put a smile on your face, and you better pump your fist and do the dance while we go to war with Iran, you fucking bitch. That is what you must do. Cue up the music. Let's do YMCA again. YMCA, and what's the other song he likes to play? What's that old funk song he likes to play? Cue up Ave Maria, the best to ever do it. He's the best to ever do it. He still got it. I love Mark Levin. I love my war with Iran. We're having more fun than anyone. That is how we got here.
Okay, so when he started talking, some of it was true. I pretty much figured he was going to say it's the Jews, right? It's always going to be it's the Jews with stuff. So he brought up Mark Levin, he brought up Lauren Loomer. I know they're both Jewish, and then Lindsey Graham is supporting Israel. I don't know if he's Jewish, but he's acting like he's Jewish. So basically, like, in terms of this war, clearly we already know that Israel is behind it and they may be behind others. What I would say, though, is that not just me, I can't speak for Nick, but there's a lot of people who work in the government. So I do feel as though there's a range of people. So he mentioned two Jewish people that Trump worked with. One he said he took a meeting with. The other one he says make certain decisions. He didn't even mention the Lutnick or whatever that guy's name is. So that's another Jewish person involved in the administration. Where they have black people, not probably that many, but they have black people in the administration. They have women. We're praying for Susie Wiles. I heard she had cancer, so we want her to do well. But there are many people, there are Christian conservatives in the administration. Pete Hegseth. There's a lot of people. So the only issue that I take with what Nick is saying is not that there's no truth to it. It's just that it's easy to just pick and say there's this Jewish person and he met with them. Now he's connecting the Jewish people, not even just the Jewish people, but he's connecting Jews to doing something. It's like, well, Trump's wife is this, or the Pete Hegseth is this, or whoever is that. It's like I can just pick a Christian or pick a Muslim or just pick Qatar. Like Trump allowed Qatar to put money into politics. Trump allowed the EAU or allowed us to have a base in the is it EAU? Is it AUE? I forgot, whatever that place is. You guys know what I'm talking about in the Middle East. Right now we have a base over there and they have bases over here. Okay, well, because of that, are we tied with the Muslims? Or are we tied with Iran? Are we tied with Hezbollah? I just think that when he does this, I just think it's like low IQ farming, right? It's like you're taking a statement and a thing that happened and now you're connecting it to a wider situation. I don't think it goes like that. It can in some instances, but like I just did with the Muslims, Americans are still somewhat Islamophobic is something that people are talking about where they're saying, oh, if there are two terrorist attacks, are people going to have an issue now with Muslim immigrants coming over? So my point of saying that is to just say that you can't or shouldn't tie Mark Levin meeting with Trump and the other person. I heard him bring up more than one name. I know there's more than two Jewish people involved in the administration. We know this already. You cannot tie that into saying because they have a voice. Now, no one else has a voice. I mean, he's potentially and supposed to be listening to a lot of voices. So I keep saying this, but I need to focus more on this. Let me find out more about some of the other lobbies outside of APEC. I do think, even paying enough attention as I do, anybody with common sense can see that AIPAC lobby is super strong and too strong. I'm not saying anything to defend that lobby, but I do want to know more about the other lobbies because what I don't want to do is I don't want to speak about AIPAC and then not know what else is going on. So Nick has been covering this for over a decade. He may have already gone down this rabbit hole and he may already know, look, when you look through this, what you are going to actually find is there's one lobby that's not just stronger than the other ones. It's 10 times stronger. It's 100 times stronger. It's not what you think. I'm open-minded and I'm thinking that there's a diverse group of lobbyists and a diverse group of ideologies putting pressure on Trump. And I'm thinking that he makes his own decision, but in making his own decision right now, he's going with Israel. I may find out that not just majority of time, because that's not what people who they call anti-Semitic. They're not just saying that they go with Israel majority of time. They got people really saying 90%, 95% of the time, the decisions that are being made for Israel's benefits and at the detriment of America. So I'm going to pay more attention to this because, again, with the the National Defense guy said, this current war, the last war with Hamas, I mean, where there's smoke, a lot of times there is fire. Last week I brought up us noticing patterns and things. You got to be honest, you got to be objective, and you got to tell the truth. So I'll follow this where it goes, and we'll close today's episode with some comments. Picking up actually from where we left off yesterday, since we're back airing now. Well, we've had a few just in the last 24 hours. So it's not just from yesterday. There's new comments. This is America first or Israel first. America. A little long, but I'll read some most of it. Tyler 8, or whatever, you guys can see it. America has its reasons for Iran and Israel has theirs. Some is the same. Iran has been chaining debt to America, debt to Israel for like 50 years. Iran and its proxy since 70,000 Islamic attacks with about 250,000 murderers. When Obama and Biden were president, America's weakness was really on display and much was accelerated from our enemies. Hopefully with Mexico too. Unfortunately, Sheena doesn't want Trump's help. The Mexican people during their larger protests begged for Trump to help. These new alliances are being made. Western culture, Iran missiles can hit us, but they can't. Okay, so you're unpacking a lot of different things. Okay, I don't know about Obama and Biden being weak. I covered that earlier in this episode. It's not about them being weak. They're more diplomatic, so they're not always going with blunt force because that's not always the best. Maybe sometimes they should have used force when they didn't. Maybe sometimes they should have been diplomatic. It's kind of hard to say. And that's same with Trump. I mean, maybe sometimes he used force and it was correct. Maybe sometimes he used force and it was wrong. I mean, it's a lot to unpack in your statements. And then, yeah, same thing about Iran. Like, we have our own issues with Iran and Israel has theirs. The problem I'm saying, at least on the show, is too often when Israel has a problem, they're making it America's problem. That is a problem. Again, I don't consider myself anti-Semitic. I'm not saying that America can't join Israel when it's in America's interest. It can be, but everything, I say it in this way. Just because something is good for Israel doesn't mean it's good for America. And so I take that how you want it, as you may. This is from, and this video got, not video, but this episode where we covered Erika Kirk's wife is doing well, guys. Share it with your friends and family. This is from Democracy. The end result, a long comment too. The end result of late-stage capitalism and our Protestant empire, which works hand in hand, 900 bases surrounding all the resources want to steal and prioritize their force with these countries. Our populace is the most propagandized in the world and don't know it. We're touching on a lot of things. Capitalism feeds greed. We push the Christian empires. We have bases around the world for people's empires. Yes, we did this. Some people say that we did this because of the Jews, but Israel, I would say both entities do this, and I'm not blaming that all on Israel. Even this person has absorbed some of the propaganda. He might be talking about me. I don't know. TPUSA is Zionist and a synthetic Christian organization. Maybe they said they offered that boy Charlie 185 million or 150 million. He's dead. So I don't know. That's a rumor or a theory that's out there, or conspiracy theory that's out there. Not America first. Christians should be the most anti-war. Now that makes sense, but they had the Crusades. So were the Crusades by the Jews? You know, I mean, I understand you're supposed to turn the other cheek. It's supposed to be a religion of peace, but that's what people say about Islam, etc. Like there's in all of these holy books, there's times where they tell you to be peaceful, and then there are times where they allow war. So it can just go both ways. Depends on which passage you take out of the book, which part of their faith you're prioritizing at that moment. The Stu thing gets a lot of comments. I guess it goes on its own. It's one of our early videos. Check it out. It's Stu Peters says, I don't like black people. This is from Rating View 3256. I agree with everything you're saying in response to everything that he said. I'm fucking with that. You fucking with what I'm saying, I'm fucking with what you're saying. He continued on. I agree with everything he said, but not his premise for his choice to dislike blacks. Okay, that's very nuanced. You liked or agreed with what I rebutted, but then you said that Stu was making factual points. Probably. People say things that are uncomfortable for various communities, but there's a reason why with blacks, Jews, Christian conservatives, Hindus, etc., Muslims, all of these groups, gay people, straight people, all of these groups don't like when people say things, but there's some truth to some of the criticism. Okay, I'm following you. I don't hate my black neighbor because some dude in Chicago. Bro, that's what I'm saying, y'all. This is just a good example. Like, bro, somebody does something somewhere and then it's connected to a whole community. Mark Levin done something. Now all of the Jews is in trouble. The dude in Chicago done something. And now, the dude in Chicago done something. Now you gotta dislike your black neighbor or think that dude in Chicago represents black people more than your black neighbor. It's like they represent them the same, right? Neither person represents all of the people. A good black person doesn't represent all blacks, but a bad black doesn't represent all blacks. And a good white doesn't represent all whites, but a bad white doesn't represent all whites. People represent themselves and they need to be held accountable for what they do. And I thought about Epstein. So, I mean, he's dead, but we do need to find out the other people involved with that because accountability needs to be had. I thought it was a few more comments, but it's just one more. This is Yusuf Elshi, and that's responded to Nick, how Trump deceived and replaced MAGA's most loyal people. Just because Tucker and these people don't agree with what Zionism are doing in the U.S. doesn't mean he's paid by Qatar. No, correct. Only reason I think sometimes Jake and Tucker, not Emily, right? Emily Wilson, Emily Saves America. I start saying they're paid possibly by Qatar because I'm saying, okay, they got these big organizations that are funding a lot of media, right? Not just social media, but they have their own shows. They have guests. They're traveling. You hear the talking points and you hear how they used to sound, all of them. Like Emily, you're seeing the shift in real life. Like I'll just use me. I've always been down the center. If all of a sudden 2 months from now, I just become pro-family, pro-white, or not pro-diversity, but I become purely pro-women and have no conservative thoughts on women, or pro-LGBT, or mutilizing children with the transgenders under 18. You want to transgender yourself? Be an adult. You can't transgender children. The children could change their mind later. They're going through harm. It's just a whole lot of stuff. It's like, if you guys hear me saying one thing consistently for the last 6 months, I get money and now all of a sudden I jump positions. I'm just questioning them because they've completely jumped off the positions they were on. That's one of many reasons I'm questioning them. Also, the access that they have to these people is like, Tucker, you had relationships with Jewish people, you had relationships with Christian people, you had relationships with Republicans. Now you're strongly with like talking positive about Muslims and Islam and stuff. There's nothing wrong with that, but you didn't start off with those beliefs. So you can change your opinion, but wouldn't you still have some of your Jewish friends and some of your Jewish ideology? Wouldn't you still have some of your Christian friends and Christian ideology? It's just the fact that they pivot so hard. Would easily be tracked and probably jailed for treason. I mean, there's a CIA investigation on him, he says now. So I guess we about to find out. These guys are just realists not paid by Arabs. They may be, they may not be. I guess we'll find out. That was the last comment. So when you guys come across videos, if you like something, let us know. Obviously, share, hit like, but also leave comments and let us know like if there are topics you want us to cover, or even let me know how I'm doing. Maybe I talk too fast, maybe I stutter. I don't actually mind being criticized. If there's something about the show that could make it better, how long? Now I don't want to say how long the segment, so I don't want y'all to reduce the show. But you know what I mean, guys. If there's something you dislike or something you like, please feel free to share. And as you see, I read the comments, so I will respond to you on air. Peace. See you guys tomorrow. If you like this video, please smash the like button, comment, and subscribe. New shows airing Monday through Thursday.